Hey, it's James for Forest City Figures, and today we are going to be taking a look at WWE Mattel Superstars Series 2, or at least what I'm able to find on shelves, but we'll get into that in the review. Let's go! The Click is fully represented in this set, at least what I could find of it. Again, these are the 3 figures from Series 2 that I was able to find in stores. And if you take a look at the back, the Ultimate Warrior is listed, but there's an asterisk next to his name. And it says down at the bottom here, in the asterisk, coming July 2022. I don't know about you, but the Ultimate Warrior never appeared at my Walmarts in July of 2022. So, here's what we have to take a look at. We'll take a look at all 3 figures in the set, and then we'll take a look at the overall pros and cons of the Superstar series. So, let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about with these figures is the absolutely amazing packaging that they come in. It's so very retro in the best way possible. It's got that old school vibe to it, but at the same time, it's got that new school quality where you can tell that this is a newer product, but it's showing a lot of respect to the figures that came before it. So if we take a closer look at the packaging, we'll start with Scott Hall. He comes in a bubble mailer. He's got the NWO t-shirt. He's got the championship title belt. And the only way to really review these figures is to actually open them up. So let's get him open. And there he is, the bad guy in all his glory. And this figure is super cool. Comes with a soft goods NWO t-shirt. It comes with that tag team championship belt. And it does come with a spray paint can as well. Plus the sunglasses that Scott Hall was known to wear, especially earlier on in the run of the NWO. On top of that, you also get 2 extra sets of hands for the bad guy, which includes a 2-sweet set of hands. So if you want him to do the Wolfpack pose, you can do that. And then he also does come with a set of closed fists in case you want him to punch some fools in the face. So taking a closer look at the figure, first of all, the overall presentation of the figure is hyper muscular. You can tell that it is the He-Man style of figure that was popular with the AWA Remcos back in the day. But we'll take a little bit of a closer look at this one. It does come with the spray paint can here so that he can tag some people. It does come with the tag team championship as well. And as a big old belt mark, I'm going to be taking a closer look at that. So you just hang out back here for a second, Scott. So the tag team belt, it is a little duller on this side as opposed to the shinier tag team belts that came with Elite Steve Austin. But there is an incredible amount of detail on this belt. So the plates look phenomenal, but on top of that, if you take a look, the strap actually has smaller details in it as well that really, really make this belt pop. And I actually prefer it a little bit more dull. It shows the details better than if it's hyper shiny. So it's a fantastic championship belt. Again, he comes with his sunglasses. Underneath the sunglasses, we'll take off the elastic that holds the sunglasses on. It is a cartoony look at Scott Hall, but again, this is supposed to be a series that's not hyper realistic, as you can tell by the body shapes. The t-shirt itself is soft goods. Now, a concern with these soft goods that are on the figures is that they sometimes stain the figures, but if we take a look, it does not appear that there's any staining at all on this figure. So here is the bad guy ready to go in full wrestling gear. They've got the chest hair presented very well there. There's the blood dripping down on the one elbow pad. Remember that Scott Hall always had one black elbow pad and then one elbow pad that matched his gear. So overall, a phenomenal representation of the bad guy. And the hands pop off very easily so that you can swap those out. And just like that, the bad guy is doing the 2-sweet sign. You can't have the NWO without Big Sexy, and Kevin Nash is up next here. You can't do the Outsiders and not just do one of them. So let's get this guy opened up and take a look. And there he is, Kevin Nash in all his glory, the big man himself. And he is very well represented. I think that Kevin Nash actually fits this line very well just based on the cartoonish nature of his proportions back when he was in the NWO. But you get the soft goods again with the black pleather pants with the tassels on the side, which I think this is a very good use of soft goods. This is one of those situations where soft goods would be better than a molded pant leg, and it does also save money on the molds. But if they're saving money, they should have lowered the price point I will get into that as well. Again, you get the same tag team championship that you got with Hall. So you've got a pair of tag team titles for the Outsiders to display, and these are also elite scaled, so they do fit in with all of your elite action figures. That's another cool thing about this line, is things like the hands, which again, with Kevin Nash, you get a pair of 2 sweet hands and a pair of fist hands to go along with his open hands, and all of those are elite hands, so you can use those with your existing elite figures as well. Kevin Nash, of course, has a pair of shades, and if we take those off and get rid of the plastic, he does have a cartoonish look to him. It's definitely Kevin Nash. You can see based on the smirk. He does have his tattoos well represented there. You can see them in color. Would have been very easy in this case for them to do black and white tattoos to save a little bit of money on this, but they didn't skimp on that. The articulation on these is excellent as well. As you can see, his arms move in many different directions. And then he's got that weird cutout NWO shirt. Now, this was a thing back in the day. I'm actually going to pop his head off to get the shirt off because it's going to be easier than getting it over his hair. But this was a thing back in the 90s, and I don't understand. Shirts were just cut out on the sides. They were just basically a flap, and it never made sense to me. But there you go. It's an excellent piece. Again, this will fit your elites. It may be a little bit big in the chest just because of the proportions on these guys. But there's Nash in his singlet. This is actually the signature look of Hall and Nash, and they do display phenomenally together, as you can see here. They are about the same height. Nash is slightly taller, but I think that's more just an illusion than anything else. But they look phenomenal together. Personally, I think the way that I will display these is I will put the Draper t-shirt over Hall, just because he was more known for wearing that style of shirt. The NWO soft goods t-shirt will likely end up in my bin, but there you go. You've got the Outsiders, Hall and Nash, and they look phenomenal. But we're not done. We've got one more Heartbreak Kid to get to, so let's do that right now. And there he is, fresh off of throwing Marty Jannetty through a barbershop window, the sexiest man in any arena, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels with his classic blue Intercontinental Championship being represented for the very first time here. So let's get it open and see what it looks like. And there he is, the Heartbreak Kid himself, looking jacked, baby. He looks phenomenal. And if we take a closer look at this figure, again, cartoony proportions are the name of the game with this figure line, but it really doesn't stand out that much. Like, it's obviously not an elite figure, they're their own line, but the details in this are incredible. Now, Shawn does come with a pair of fist hands, so that, again, you can have him raise his fist in celebration or punch a fool in the face, whatever you need. But this figure might be my favorite of the entire series, and there's a lot of little details here. So, obviously, underneath the sunglasses, you've got Shawn Michaels. Again, a very cartoony visage, but still definitely the Heartbreak Kid. We're going to take this plastic off of his head that they used to hold the sunglasses in place. But the vest has all the little details that Shawn Michaels' entrance vest had. It's got the zebra print on the pockets. It's got the heart with the zipper on the back. It does indeed say, "I'm too sexy for this crowd," which I believe is something that was omitted from any Jakks versions because they were a little more worried about kids. The tights look fantastic. They've got that splotchy pattern that his early singles run tights had. And then if we take a look, the Intercontinental title in baby blue for the very first time. This has never actually been done by Mattel. And again, the belt is dull, which does show off the details a little better. The only thing that bothers me is this is very clearly the 2017 version of the Intercontinental Championship as opposed to the 1980s version. You can just tell based on the logos. And they have the mold for the correct one, so I'm not sure why they didn't use it here, but either way, it still does display very well and looks good with Shawn Michaels. Underneath the vest, he's jacked. He looks fantastic. All kinds of details on this thing, even on the bottom of the back of the boots, where they didn't need to necessarily put details. They put the details for Shawn Michaels' signature boots. So they are phenomenal. They do look fantastic. He's got the fingerless gloves. Everything that you could possibly want in a 1992 IC champion Shawn Michaels is represented here. And we need to talk about the articulation on these figures for a second, because they do move quite well. You can see that they both swivel and have a ball joint at the hips. They move at the waist. They bend at both the knee, the shin, and the ankle. In the shoulders, you've got full range of motion, back, forth, as well as elbow pivots. And then the wrists bend just like an Elite does. So you can twist the wrist and you can bend it that way as well. And then the head is a full ball joint head as well. So if you want Shawn Michaels to pop that pose that he does so well, it's not that difficult to pull off with these figures. And then next thing you know, he's got his thumb out and he is good to go. So another fantastic figure with a lot of very good redeeming qualities. But that's the overview of the figures. Why don't we take a look at the pros and cons? Okay, so let's take a look at the pros and cons of Mattel's WWE Superstars Series 2. So starting with the pros, I love the retro look and feel of these figures while also still having modern upgrades like articulation and detail and soft goods, all things that were done with those Remco figures way back in the day, but have been done way better in this case. And speaking of detail, the small details on these figures really do stand out, whether it's Scott Hall's mismatched elbow pads or the details on Shawn Michaels' boots. Small things like that that could have been omitted and probably forgiven were not omitted, and it really shows a love for this style of figure. The character choice is fantastic as well. Putting Bray Wyatt in Series 1 was a little strange, but I never found Series 1. So starting with Series 2, where you get a complete set of the Outsiders and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in his classic 92 gear, is fantastic as far as character choice. As far as soft goods go, the pants on Kevin Nash work out perfectly so that you don't need to create a new mold, and the t-shirt that comes with Scott Hall, always good to have a couple of extra t-shirts in your collection. The accessories, all fantastic. They all come with great championship belts, sunglasses. The spray can with Scott Hall is a really good addition. All great use of accessories as well, and added value for these figures. And on top of that, the articulation is excellent as well. You can really pose these figures a lot more than you could with those AWA Remcos from back in the day. The abilities to do signature poses are still there, while also not hindering playability. Packaging is also a huge pro in this line. The retro packaging with the cartoons in the background look very good and stand out big time on store shelves. You can see them from a mile away and you can jump on them when you see them. Now, taking a look at the cons of the Superstars series, the very first one is price point. Now, I'm in Ontario, Canada, and these are $33 each plus tax. So coming with tax, it comes to about $37 per figure. Now, obviously with inflation and everything being the way it is, that's kind of unavoidable, but even in this case, I struggled to pay $37 per figure for these particular figures. The other issue is distribution. These are the only 3 Mattel Superstars figures I've ever seen in stores. I never saw Series 1, I've never seen Series 3 or the Ultimate Warrior. Now, I think this is more of a Walmart problem than it is a Mattel problem, because Walmart just orders SKUs. They don't know what characters are which, and there's a very good chance that there's a lot of Superstars Series 3 sitting in the back of Walmarts waiting for these massive amounts of Series 2 to sell. And they don't know the difference, so they're not going to put out new characters. On top of that, incomplete sets upon release. The fact that they've released 3 of the 4 and we never got the Ultimate Warrior at the same time, that's not the best way to go about that. I don't know if it was a licensing issue or a production issue, but that Ultimate Warrior figure does look fantastic, and if I ever get a chance, I will review it. But overall, after pulling these figures out and handling them and getting a good look at the details on them, I think that they were worth the price, although it is a little bit of a pause to spend that kind of money. But at the same time, if you see these figures out or if you see them on sale, absolutely I would recommend picking up the Superstars line. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you enjoy the Superstars line? Do you collect them, or is it something that you leave on the shelf? Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, and we'll see you very soon.